Greetings YouTube, it's your friend David here, and today we're doing things a little bit differently. As I'm not on my own, I'm joined by my good friend Devin.
Hi, my name's Devin. I am an illustrator and a fan of anime.
Which is perfect because today we're going to take you through our top 10 favorite anime of all time.
Enjoy! So I think I was in junior high when Yu-Gi-Oh came out, and this was like, anime was already getting a lot of speed in North America, and we got to this place where the sort of monster hunting craze that Pokemon had sort of like unleashed upon North America was sort of like already in set, and then this kind of like weirder, darker, campier anime came out called Yu-Gi-Oh, and I was at the prime age to be like, oh, a trading card game. Some serious camp and some serious like drama within the series. I liked it. It also, I think the first anime series that came to Canada and North America was just like chocked full of my favorite genre, which is like monsters and magic and like that sort of fantasy element of like, what is it called? Like sword and sorcery, which was so yummy at the time, matched with like a bit of a trading card game, matched with like a loose story and a heavy editing. I was at the prime age to just like love it. So I, like many people, love Yu-Gi-Oh from like a nostalgic point of view, but it's often a series I go back to when I'm like, oh, like what sort of inspired me when I was younger and what would influence me as an adult creating stories now. Yu-Gi-Oh is often that thing for me.
It's so funny because obviously getting more into anime as I was an adult, Yu-Gi-Oh was one of those shows I've always heard about, but I've never seen. So when I got your list of the top 10, it was the first time that I watched it.
And what did you think?
I mean, my opinion might be loaded for a lot of people.
I want to hear it.
I mean, I think it's so interesting when you can go back, even for myself, when you can go back and watch things through the eyes of nostalgia versus someone who's seeing it for the first time. And I feel like, although it's not the type of show that I could see myself getting into now, I can definitely see from that and from a few shows on your list where you have been influenced in your own work.
Right.
Which is so fun for me as your friend and someone who likes your artwork to see, because I feel like a lot of, I feel like when people talk about your artwork so much, you get like Pokemon, Digimon sort of comparisons.
Definitely.
But for me, this show and some of the other shows on your list, I feel like, I could be wrong, but I feel like they almost feel like they could be more of an influence for you.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. No one ever catches that, but that's 100% accurate. I don't think people see it as often because, as people who are sort of my peers, my age, they had fallen off sort of like the cartoon trend at like a junior high area or like age, and I was sticking with it. So these things like heavily influenced me, heavily influenced my art in a lot of ways, what I like to create, but yeah.
I did not put a lot of new shows on my list because I feel like my top 10 has to be shows I've like seen many times and can like really get behind. But for some reason, I love this show. It's kind of filled with things that really wouldn't normally be my thing. I'm not really a fan of like lots of blood and gore and things like that. It's not really usually my thing. But something about this show is just handled in such a way where it's like we're dropped into like this kind of crazy world full of weird characters, and I love the way that they're all handled. Even people who are sort of come across as these sort of grotesque characters are like so quirky and funny in their own way. And I just think the story is really unique. I haven't seen, it's very hard to watch something that's new that feels like a story we haven't seen before, and I just think this show is so much fun. And
the character design, I think, is like speaks to that. Like the design of the whole series really speaks to that. It's very grunge inspired. It's very like punk aesthetic. It's very grimy in general. Like the whole world is quite grimy in a way. From the little that I know about the series, like it does have a very unique aesthetic and appearance. which I think lends itself to its uniqueness, which is kind of what you were saying, right?
I love the animation. Yeah, it just feels like a weird mashup of all these weird things. And sometimes one of those creations that you watch and you feel like, this shouldn't work. But for some reason, it really does.
That's our new slogan. It does! My top 9 favorite anime is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the OVA.
Ooh.
Now, hard to find because I think that you actually can't. I don't know that you can find it anymore. It used to be on YouTube when I first found it, and I, even from when I was a young age, I'm a sucker for a series, and this is a limited series, but I'm a sucker for a series that is just high quality animation, and this JoJo's Bizarre Adventure OVA is that. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure obviously has its main series that is still going, and this one in particular though is just a short version of Stardust Crusaders, but the animation is so juicy. I was rewatching one of the fights in it because it sort of details several battles. I can't remember how many episodes it is, but it ends with, if you know anything about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, it's
I don't.
JoJo versus Dio, which is a climactic end battle, and it's done so incredibly beautifully. It's so smooth. It's really intense. It cultivates a really good tension within the battle. I was hooked, and I think it was my first introduction into JoJo in a lot of ways, where I was like, what is this? What are we doing here? Who is that?
What is this Bizarre Adventure?
What's a stand? What's this Bizarre Adventure? And how do I get some? And I really liked it for that reason. Did you end up were you able to find it? Were you able to watch it?
No, I didn't get to watch the OVA.
Yeah.
I've tried more than once to try and watch the first season. I feel like there's something about the the animation or the style of the characters that I really like, and I can see how it could really work in a manga, like the stylization of it. But for some reason, the animation and the story, I just can't get into.
I get it. I think JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is to me, if you were not familiar with anime, you understood what anime was, but not a fan of it, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, both manga and anime, is the most anime there is. It's over the top, it's campy, it's bizarre, it's really outrageous. And for those reasons, I'm like, yeah, another serving, please.
My number 9 is one more new show. The only 2 spots I allowed for newer animes on my list. It is Tengoku de Makio, also known as Heavenly Delusion. Mm-hmm. And again, I just loved this show. I didn't know much about it when I discovered it. I wasn't familiar with the manga, so I kind of went in totally blind. And I just loved the story, largely because I loved the animation. Mm-hmm. I thought it was so beautiful. And without giving away plot points, I just thought some of the handling of the characters and their backgrounds and sort of the dichotomy of the 2 different stories we see, which is the 2 main characters sort of traveling through this post-apocalyptic world, and then these other children being kept in sort of this mysterious science facility. I don't know, something about it just totally works for me, and I think the animation is stunning. And I loved it. I've watched it the only one season. I feel like I've watched it 3 times already.
Wow.
Yeah. So I give it number 9.
It's a good series that has that dual mystery element going on. Be how are these 2 stories that are unfolding? How are they going to connect at some point?
Yes.
I think I'm going to say because I don't think it's getting another season.
I feel like it's one of those shows. I feel like with anime, sometimes they threaten it's going to come back, but it can be years.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I don't know either. But I enjoyed it too. I thought it was a lot of fun, and it's a pace that was really interesting, but also animation was really good. even I think I watched it in English. The voice acting was really good. The story was just unfolding in like a really fun way. It created a lot of really great tension, which I always really love from a series. So it was really cool. I liked it too.
Do you usually watch your anime in English?
Yeah. I get that will make me a pariah. And if you have to throw a tomato at me, please, I deserve it.
Comment below what you think of Devin watching anime in English.
I get it.
Did you tell me before that you read this manga or no?
No, I've never read the manga.
Okay, yeah. I really want to. You know, I've never read manga. Isn't that crazy?
Because you don't know how to read. And that's your number 9.
Number 9, Devin. Number 9.
Number 9. My number 8 favorite anime is maybe controversial, Cybersix.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more.
Okay, so here's why I wonder if people maybe like wouldn't consider it an anime. It is an Argentinian comic turned cartoon. In 1999, a limited series. I think there's only somewhere around 10 episodes, but the studio that animated it is giving anime in a lot of ways. It's a high production budget, and that's why for back in the 90s there weren't something like 22 episodes like every other series back then. There's half of that basically. It essentially was the same sort of like production budget as like a movie, and that's why the animation is so fluid. But a story of like in this like fictional world of a superhero who by the day goes as a school professor, by night. Then essentially we're playing with gender bending. Then it also gives a bit of like trans allegory, which I think is rewatching it is really fun to observe. But is a superhero by night and is essentially going to sort of save the people of this town and these like experiments that go awry. I was enthralled by this series when I was a kid, and rewatching as an adult, it's been really fun to connect with my friends who have also rewatched it. It gives a lot, and I hope other people get to watch Cybersix. It's just really hard to find on any streaming service.
It is such a great show. I mean, I revisited it since we started this list and you sent me yours.
Yeah.
And the animation again is beautiful, which, no shade, but it's hard to be said about a lot of shows from that time, not actually from Japan.
Exactly.
But the animation is stunning and the story is so cool.
Yeah.
I wish watching it now as an adult, I mean, I think it's a great show, but watching it now as an adult, I would love to see like an adult version of the story.
Sure, absolutely.
Because the only pieces, of course, it was made for kids, I believe, but the only part of the show that sort of like drives me crazy is like Jose, like the villain kid.
Sure.
Like those little annoyances, which I totally understand for the audience it was made for, but like you said, with the gender bending kind of role play and stuff like that, I think it could be a really cool revisited as a show for adults.
100%.
My number 8 is Samurai Champloo.
A classic.
A classic, but so funny that it's one of those shows that I'd heard so much about. And when I tried to watch it the first time, maybe even 2 times, I didn't really get into it. I think the animation is stunning, but I think I prefer shows that blend into a much larger story. And I feel like when Samurai Champloo starts, there's elements of that, but it's largely standalone episodes. And so I thought it was fun, but I kind of always was like, oh, this is fun. Like it's fun to watch, but I always felt like I couldn't get over the hump of like really getting into it. But I think it's when you get into sort of like episode like 8, 9, it starts to weave together like this larger story. And then I was like really, really hooked and I love it. And just recently rewatched it, and even the there's like I think a 3-part finale, and just everything about it is so good. From like start to finish, action sequences, the anime, and sort of like the mashup of like the Edo Japan with like the hip hop. So cool. I love it.
I think a lot of people really like the series, and it's also one of those series that kind of stands alone. Like there aren't a lot of like reboots or even like movies or anything like that. Like it kind of sits within its space, but I know that folks really love it. I feel like I haven't seen it yet, but I know that I need to get to it at some point.
This video's over.
My number 7 favorite anime is Neon Genesis Evangelion, which I think is like a lot of people's top favorite anime in a lot of ways. I really like the series for multiple different reasons. When I first saw it, I think I was like, oh, this is so dark for sort of the, it's a very dark story in a lot of ways. It's a very gritty story in a lot of ways for sort of the taste that I had when I first saw it. But because of that, it also opened my mind up to sort of like other stories that I think are a little bit more mature in a lot of ways. And this is one of the few series I've rewatched over and over and over again. But I think what it does really well is it does a really good world building and brings you into this space of like, there are these giant mechs we call Evas, and we need very specific youth to pilot them, because otherwise the Neo Tokyo is going to be destroyed by these alien beings called angels that come down. And what it does, it weaves really well is, yes, that's a big aspect of the plot, but a lot of the story sort of revolves around these like very human characters, and it pivots quickly into this very tense sort of like, we need to save the world, and it's very close calls, and it's something I love. There's so much detail in how the characters do anything, and I think that's also something that's really nice with world building. I could go on and on about the things I like about the series, but had you seen it before?
I did. I watched the show for the first time, I think a couple years ago when it first came to Netflix, after hearing about it for a long time. And I really enjoy it. I'm gonna be honest, I love the animation. There's a point in the show where I get very confused. Like they get very like, it gets very deep and like philosophical by the end, which was, I think the first time I watched it, a twist that I maybe wasn't necessarily expecting.
Yeah.
But I do really enjoy it. And I just recently rewatched like the extended movies they made.
Yeah.
Which again, I find like the stories get so in depth, but the animation is just stunning.
Yummy.
And I can't remember her name, but I love the woman who works. The woman.
Me too.
Yeah.
Love a woman that works.
Yeah. I can't remember the name of the organization, but she picks them up at the very beginning in her like fancy car, and she's cool the whole show afterwards.
The organization called Nerve.
Oh yeah, you've got some nerve.
Yeah, and and that's the thing, is that all the characters are very rich. Like there's a lot to each character, which is really fun. But you're also right. The series pivots halfway through and becomes like almost like an exploration of like the psyche more than it does like a mech battle anime anymore, which is like also a bit of a twist, but very influenced by, I think, the director's like mental status at the time too. Like it's heavily influenced by.
We can relate,
and that's why I like the series so much. I see you, depression.
My number 7 is a show that I feel like, as far as I know, doesn't get a ton of attention, but I love it. And it's Moribito, Guardian of the Spirit.
Right.
Which is sort of, it's by Production IG, who does Ghost in the Shell and Psycho-Pass. And I had sort of found it just researching information about them, because I love the work that they do. And it's just it's a stunning anime. I love like the time period it's set. I think it's sort of rare compared to other animes because it's based on like a series of novels. So not based on a manga, not an original story, but just very unique and more than anything, like I said, the animation I find absolutely stunning. It's got everything I love. It's got like a badass like lead female character who beats a lot of people up. There's this beautiful fight sequences that are, I don't know, the animation kind of blows my mind, as with a lot of the animation from that studio.
When was the first time that you saw it?
I actually only watched it maybe 2 years ago. Again, I feel like it's one of those shows, at least as far as I know, I just had never heard a lot about. I think it was sort of like a sleeper. And when I watched it, again, with a lot of shows from I think it's from like early 2000s, but a lot of shows from those times where there's like 24, 26 episodes to a season, I find there's often, and with a lot of the shows that are the favorites on my list, with series from that time that are longer, there's often like a slow burn, like you've got to get into it. But this show sort of like hits the ground running. If anything, it sort of slows down like the midway point. But otherwise, the show from like beginning to like the final act is just sort of like go, 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 go the whole time. I love it.
Some of my favorite things come from the early 2000s. Like,
yeah, I feel like most of the things on my list are from that time. There's something about like the storytelling and the animation, and again,
because of the thing too is the animation also looks very different from generation to generation.
Yeah, and looking back, I still, some of it, like watching stuff now from like, even like the late 90s, early 2000s, so much of it is so good.
So good.
Like it holds up. I don't know. I'm not an animator. I'm not trained as an animator, but I don't know how they achieve some of the things they achieve. It's like stunning. And this is one of those shows that from like the minute it starts, specifically like the scenery and the backgrounds, and I think in the first few episodes there's like this really amazing fight sequence like through like these rice paddies, and it's just like everything is done in such a stunning fashion. So highly recommend.
Highly recommend. And I hope everyone gets to see that series. My number 6 favorite anime is Jujutsu Kaisen, JJK. When I watched this series for the first time, I had heard the hype around it, and I was like, not for me. I don't know. I don't care about this. and then years passed, and I think a friend was watching it, and I was like, okay, you know what? They're selling it well. Let's try it again. And genuinely, this is the most annoying thing to say about any series, is you've got to let season 1 bake and then get into season 2, and that's where things really get so much more exciting. Season 1 is very classic shonen anime. It's like the most, if JJK was a knife, it's the sharpest shonen knife you can have. It's pure shonen anime. And at season 2, then we start to get nuance, things get really interesting, the stakes get a lot higher, the characters all start sort of, they're less flat, a lot of their personality starts to come out. Season 1 feels very cookie cutter in some ways.
Cookie cutter.
But in hindsight, I'm rewatching the first season again now, it's a lot more fun, and I have so much more appreciation for the entire series now. Did you get a chance to watch it?
I watched the whole thing.
Did you?
Yeah, I really like it, which is surprising because I do sometimes, I think it's indicative from what I understand of shonen anime. I sometimes struggle with shows. It's like, I'm a level 8 and they're a level 7. Like that sort of like the way that things are graded in that fashion. But similar to what you were saying, I enjoyed season 1, but wasn't particularly attached to it. And I think it was the movie that came out, which was actually like a prequel.
Yeah.
But watching that, I really enjoyed it. And then into season 2, the story is so good, and also, again, just the animation is stunning in the second season.
Yeah, it's so, so good.
Okay, my number 6 is Michiko and Hatchin.
Tell me more.
Which is, I think such a cool show, and I guess it might be the most sort of unique show on my list. It's sort of like a different type of story. Again, I only watched this again for the first time a few years ago, but the animation is stunning and sort of brings us into worlds that I feel like are not so typical in anime. So we're in sort of like a fictional, like South American setting. It's such a unique story about like this sort of badass woman who sort of like gets herself into a lot of trouble, but always sort of is able to get herself out of it. And when the show starts, she's in prison and she ends up finding out about this young girl who she feels like might have information about a man she wants to find. And so this girl is currently in sort of like an abusive adoptive home. And so Michiko breaks out of prison and then goes to find this girl. And when she rescues her from this home, they kind of go on like this really kind of wacky adventure. Which is great.
Is Hatchin the child that comes with her?
Yeah, her name is like Hannah Morenos. And so I think she doesn't like that name because of where she's been brought up, so they give her like a nickname, which I think she kind of also hates, but they run with it.
Hey. Hey.
That's life.
When did you first, like, what was like drew you to the series originally?
I don't believe this is from the same creator as Samurai Champloo, but I think it might be the same producers or maybe the same animation studio. So I had seen visuals from the animation which just looked so beautiful. And I think the first time I tried to watch it, I don't think I continued because when there was like the abusive adoptive home element, I was like, is this going to be depressing?
Yeah.
Because I'm not in the headspace for that. But it's a really great show for when you watch it. They tackle a lot of sort of difficult issues, but it doesn't ever really become sad. It handles that sort of beautiful, like there's always sort of like hope.
Yeah.
And like terrible things happen, but there's always like this like glimmer of hope they're sort of chasing along the way. And their relationship is really cool. It sort of becomes like a parent and child relationship, but it's complicated.
I mean, you sell it well. It sounds great.
That's a wrap on part 1. As you can tell, Devin and I love to talk, so if you can't get enough of our shenanigans, please check out my Patreon page for an extended version of this video, linked below. Be sure to drop your favorite anime in the comments so we can compare notes, and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next installment. See you in the next one.